economy is going to recover. I think it's going to get much worse, and I think the monetary policies edges on the total insanity of it all. So we got into trouble because we spent too much money, and the deficits were out of control, and interest rates were gimmicked down to zero, and they're just doing the same thing over again. But the other thing they've added is what is equivalent to helicopter money that Bernanke wanted, because they're literally just dropping it by the ton loads onto the consumer, because the consumer today is in trouble and they want to be treated like business people. So everybody gets something. It's amazing that there's any confidence left at all, but so far so good from their viewpoint. But no, it's a sign that there's an end coming. I think it's going to shift to price inflation for the individual. I think it's already started. We already had it. But the real inflation over the last decade has been mainly in stocks and bonds and different things like this. But consumer prices are going up, and right now food prices in the States is skyrocketing because of the shortages and because of the coronavirus.
Yeah, we're already seeing that at the grocery stores. But now, Dr. Paul, Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell has repeatedly said that the interest rates will stay low indefinitely, and that the Fed will do whatever it takes to get the economy going and running again. He's also said that negative interest rates, though, are not part of his toolkit that he plans to use during this crisis. Many analysts are now saying that that's a matter of time, not if. Do you agree that negative rates are actually inevitable?
Oh yeah, they'll come, and you know, the Brits just did it, and we'll do it, and the plan is there no matter what Powell says. It doesn't matter because it's going to come. But it's obviously a sign of how ridiculous foreign policy is, because it's the confirmation that we've had total destruction of the purpose of interest rates. The purpose of the interest rate is to guide a free market economy, because it should come from savings. But for decades now, it's principally been created, the so-called capital has been created in a, from a computer. And that's why we've had this trouble, and they'll continue to do it. But it's not going to work. It will come to an end, even though they will not do what they have to do, because it would be so painful. So they're going to keep doing it. It'll go to zero. I never dreamed it would get this low, but that deficit is just exploding. It will end. There will be an eventually decreased confidence in the dollar, which is a major task, because all the other currencies are a mess too. Right. So it'll be a global event, and I think that's coming. But it's going to be a lot of price inflation for individuals, and that'll be a big deal.
What else besides the price inflation? You mentioned devaluing the dollar. What else are some of the possible ramifications to follow from this?
Well, the ramifications, of course, the people who are looking for, some place to go, and that's the difficulty, and I've been studying this for a long time. But if I want to have some cash ready for an emergency, it's not easy. What do? You put it in a CD and lose money. So it's very, very difficult. And for longer term, people have used metals to try to protect themselves. But quite frankly, I think about this all the time, and I've worked for 30 years in this, but my conclusion is that you can't protect against all the monstrosities that go on and all the bad policies of spending and inflation, and that what you have to do eventually is change it and wait out the calamity that will come, and that will be the bankruptcy, and that will be a big event, which I think is coming very soon. So other people will think what else they do. I think my main responsibility is, and I take it personally, is try to improve the conditions so that people can run the economy. That's what the free market is all about, not made by government spending and interest rates and Federal Reserves and deficits and redirecting it. The worst type of economic planning has been this thing going on treating coronavirus. I mean, that's total insanity. And all we do is we get these unemployment rates skyrocketing, thing. And what do? Well, you know, we'll print whatever you need. That's what Powell's saying. Whatever's necessary, we're going to print. And they are. But that will come to an end. The big question is it going to be next month or next year or exactly when? But it will come. They cannot continue to do this. Well,
they did say they'll do whatever it takes to keep the economy going. Now, I want to ask you this, with all this in mind, could there be other alternatives to what's being done right now, and what would those look like?
Well, from their viewpoint, that's all there is, and the conventional wisdom under today's circumstances is that's all they can do, and they won't admit failure. So the thing to do is you have to liquidate debt. The market says there's too much debt and too much printed money, and so you have to have liquidation. But that's very, very unpopular. That would be, you know, the immediate effect of that is making things worse. It's sort of like taking the medicine or taking the surgery and get over it. But you can't heal the economy until you get rid of all the mistakes and all the debt. You can't build an economy when there's so much debt. I mean, they're talking now about, you know, what date Social Security will have to adjust and they'll be out of business. But they say, and I don't believe they'll quit sending checks. They'll keep sending, computerized money. So I don't think you can't say, well, let's quit spending. Yeah, they should, but both sides keep spending. You know, one side said, well, we shouldn't spend quite as much. They've all been trained by the same economists in the universities. They believe in Keynesianism. They believe that deficits don't matter. They believe that the Federal Reserves and central banks are supposed to do this, but the free market is what solves the problem. And the whole purpose that I have is trying to get people to have confidence and understanding why freedom works much better, whether it's in foreign policy or whether it's in individual liberty or whether it's in economic policy. People aren't smart enough to go to Washington, or some people say, well, we'll put you in charge of the Federal Reserve and then you can tell us what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't know what interest rate should be. Only the market can decide that. This whole thing that it's a management problem. No, management is impossible. You can't manage an economy like this or the whole global system by just having different managers put in place.
Now, Dr. Paul, we have a little less than a minute left, but I do want to ask you this. With all this in place and all of the stimulus that the Federal Reserve plans to continue to stimulate the economy with, what do you see the future looking like? And does the Federal Reserve need to make some sort of change to its infrastructure?
Well, I think the Federal Reserve should go out of business, and they're not going to, but they will self-destruct, just like the Bretton Woods self-destructed. So on the short run, I have dire predictions because they won't liquidate the debt, but the market will liquidate the debt, and that will be a major event. Long term, I'm an optimist because from where I've sat and, you know, have been in Congress and the programming I do now, there's a lot of people who are sick and tired of it. They understand what free market's all about. They don't believe in negative interest rates. They want their liberty back, and that's a growing number. When I first went into politics in the 1970s, people didn't even know about it, and they want to ask me, why are you talking about the Federal Reserve? A lot of people are, and they know that the Federal Reserve is going to get the blame for this, and there's no easy replacement other than releasing it to the marketplace. We lasted for a long time in this country and the most of the world did without central banking, assuming they had the job of economic planning and printing money and rigging interest rates. It doesn't work. So in the long term, I think those ideas are alive and well, and they're growing. And so I'm optimistic that in a year or two or three, the people will wake up and realize this is a total failure. But right now, I would say that we're in for a bad year or two.
Powell did say that it will take a longer recovery, it won't recover as quickly as anticipated, unfortunately. Thank you so much, Congressman
We say, and I ask you to stay with us, lift up your voices in this great meeting in the heart of England, and to all the world a message: England lives and marches on.